both candidates. The Palm Coast City Council will hold a special meeting Tuesday, April 29th at 6 p.m. to discuss the selection with a final decision on the new city manager possibly being made. From the WNZF Newsroom, I'm Rich Carroll.
Schedule your service appointments now at Tom Gibbs Chevrolet. It's easy and without worries. Call TomGibbsChevy.com. Our forecast will include plenty of sunshine, 80 to 84 this afternoon. East to southeast winds at 5 to 15. A few clouds, low 60s tonight. Mostly sunny, 84 to 88 tomorrow. Clear tomorrow night, low 60s. Mostly sunny, near 90 Sunday. I'm Precision Weather Meteorologist Russ Murley on WNZF.
The following programs contain information and personal opinions expressed by the participants and are not necessarily those of Flagler Broadcasting staff, management, or advertisers.
This is ptristam, editor of Flagler Live with your weekly reality check. Mike Norris has a choice. He can either resign or convert. I don't mean he should embrace City Hall's prevailing creeds. Disruption has its benefits. A harder look at the city's pace of development is not a bad thing, but that's policy. Every elected official is entitled to his, her, or their own, and to try to change that of colleagues. It's the nature of government. Norris's conversion has to be more self-jiggering. He needs to give his Napoleonic ego a 4-year sabbatical and discover his inner Sufism. He should give up the illusion that his power is more than 1/5 of the council's, that his word is law, that the mayor's position is defined by authority more than ceremony. He should learn that using his position to humiliate others isn't folksy humor. It's cruel, and judging by where his eyes stray, it's somewhere between madmen sexist and a private fetish that should remain private. He should learn that it's not his City Hall, and it certainly is not his staff. He was right to clear his things out of his office there. He was getting too comfortable, too smug, more pasha than mayor, more thrilled by his title than his responsibility to live up to it, which I suspect he could do very well. I think Norris is a good and sincere man at heart, but he needs self-discipline and self-direction. He needs to realize he's the rookie. If he doesn't want to fit in, it's his right. That doesn't absolve him of the responsibility to listen, observe, learn, respect staff, respect the charter, then try to change the world. No one would begrudge him for trying. It's what we elect people to do. But we don't elect them to destroy the village, to save it. This self-aggrandizing ex-soldier seems to have no clue that Palm Coast doesn't need saving. It's not even in trouble. It merely needs steering, which to City Hall staff's credit, and specifically to City Manager Lauren Johnston's credit, who would be the city's ideal permanent manager, is being steered despite the mayor's carnage. He's made himself superfluous. If he doesn't convert, he'll be a 4-year irrelevance. His colleagues will make sure of that. Because continuing as the Mike Norris we've come to know and dread is not a choice. Not with his barrio of buffoonery, the embarrassment of his State of the State address, the puerility of his wanted poster, the insult to city manager candidates of his tailgate interviews. What next? Replacing the best communications department in Northeast Florida with Dennis McDonald? Norris is not the resigning type, and driving him out of office is undemocratic. He was duly elected by a large margin. 63% is landslide territory. The city council has every reason to censure him or express its lack of confidence, but to draft the governor to expel him? Now who's being undemocratic? As Oliver Wendell Holmes put it, if people elect lawmakers who take them to hell, it's their democratic choice. Thankfully, Norris is just one vote, and the council, under the deft and dignified leadership of Teresa Pontieri, who is now the mayor in all but name, the city will not go to hell. For all of Norris's follies, we now have a solid, intelligent, and effective council. He can either be a part of it or play the irrelevant mayor in his self-made labyrinth. It's his choice, but he doesn't have to be our problem anymore. This is Pierre Tristram, editor of Flagler Live, your 24-hour online news source. Thanks for listening.
All good. Friday morning, and we are listening. Palm Coast, a lot of things going on. Wouldn't you say, Vice Mayor Teresa Pontieri?
It's never a dull moment.
That's right. A lot of things to report on. The local newspaper, not too boring these days. Brian McMillan.
Thank you for the compliment, David.
So what do you think about Pierre's commentary?
Well, unfortunately, I didn't hear the very beginning of it, but yeah, I mean, it's been very interesting to see the sort of unraveling, I think, is one way. I mean, I reported a couple weeks ago, and I was kind of a little hesitant because, again, we're very careful to not like put opinion into any news. It was a little bit more of an analysis, but I mentioned in a news story that Mike Norris has become somewhat isolated in the city council. And since then, I think that it's more and more just, that's a fact. I mean, I saw the Flagler Live story yesterday where Mike Norris conducted his city manager interviews in the parking lot apparently not wanting to even go into City Hall. He's not talking to the media.
We did invite him on today's show, and it was no thanks. So
Teresa was the second choice.
I know.
You're making her feel bad.
I know we're going deep. We're going deep in the
Playing second
bench.
fiddle here.
But here's the thing that I've been thinking about this. He posted like a wanted poster Mike Norris did on his Facebook page. We've been paying attention to his Facebook page because that's the only way that, as far as I can tell, he's communicating with the media. I mean, he's communicating with the whole community that way. But it's kind of like a sort of silly, sort of a joke, that I don't know. Have you seen the wanted poster?
To me, it's childish.
If you go to his Facebook page, Mike Norris, Mayor of Palm Coast, it says wanted with a kind of funny old picture of him in a sepia tone from like a old Wild West.
Like Butch
wanted
Cassidy
poster.
and
Yeah.
the Sundance Kid, whatever.
But it says,
but how childish.
for standing up to the swamp of Palm Coast.
Gee.
And it just seems kind of like, it to me, when I was thinking about this yesterday, it kind of shows the kind of doubling down of the idea that there are people who are really trying to tear down, trying to ruin Palm Coast, and he is wanted by them. He's kind of like, people are trying to target him. That's what that's what a wanted poster is.
That's interesting.
Right?
So you're saying wanted by the people that hate Palm Coast and trying to tear it down.
Like people are trying to take him down.
Mm-hmm.
And as if, and that's his stance. That's what he has said specifically. That's what he said in the State of the City speech, was that there are organizations and former officials who are trying to encourage trumped up charges against him. Basically saying that, again, he doesn't feel that he's done anything wrong. He feels that as a mayor, he is entitled to ask for the resignations of staff. So basically just continuing to, he hasn't had one moment of apologetic kind of tone for anything that's happened so far. It's always been justifying what he's saying. And the wanted poster, I think, is symbolic of all of that.
I've known people like that. They're compulsive liars. They lie and don't know they're lying. They could pass a lie detector test and say, I didn't lie. And then they lie to themselves. And next thing you know, we got a whole big mess on our hands. So I'm getting bored with it all. We need to move on. And good morning, Teresa Pontieri.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
You got
doing?
a great celebration this weekend coming.
I do. Little man is turning big 1. Yeah. So he's Monday is technically his birthday, but we've got family coming up, and we're going to celebrate at Holland Park. Enjoy the splash pad.
He's always going to remember that moment. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
Well,
we'll have fun with it.
Well, we don't want to be rude to our House of Representatives. Sam Greco joining us. Are you in Tallahassee or are you back home, Sam?
I'm in Tallahassee. How are you, David?
Doing great. Now, explain. I hear that the Senate and the House are at odds over the budget number. Is that true? What's going on?
Well, I wouldn't say at odds. I would just say that the conversation is continuing, and this is a large conversation that happens every year. The state of Florida allocates somewhere in the neighborhood of $120 billion. That is a significant responsibility. It's one of the biggest responsibilities we have. Indeed, it's in the Florida Constitution that we are required to pass a balanced budget every year. So there's a lot of negotiation, a lot of conversation, a lot of input from stakeholders, whether they're located in any of the 67 counties or in Tallahassee or elsewhere. So it's a large conversation. The conversation's ongoing. To what I think you're referencing, that there were some statements made yesterday by the presiding officers in the House and the Senate saying that they felt that the conversations at this point were still early enough that it looked like we may need additional time past the end of the traditional legislative session, which concludes a week from today. Nothing's official there, but I think that's what you're referring to. But certainly, we were all working hard on it. Looking at, again, allocating $120 billion or so across the state, and certainly I have my eye on a series of individual projects and larger recurring budget requests that impact Flagler County and District 19.
Okay. Say good morning to Teresa Pontieri, our vice mayor, in the studio.
Good morning, Representative.
Good morning,
Greco.
Vice Mayor. How are you?
I'm well.
Also,
thank you for all your work that you're doing up there for us.
Happy to do it.
Also, Brian McMillan, co-host and editor, Palm Coast Observer.
Good morning, Mr. Greco.
Hi, Brian.
Hey, so top projects, the big ones. What's the priority number one big project for us here in Flagler County you're working on, Sam?
Well, we've got several for the county and the city of Palm Coast, as well as the city of Flagler Beach. But the best information I get comes from our folks on the ground. So Vice Mayor Pontieri can certainly tell you we've had a lot of conversations about the water treatment issues in Palm Coast. And so we've got two sizable projects that we still are in good posture here in Tallahassee to get funded regarding the water treatment, two different aspects of the water treatment plant, one the equalization tank and one a portion of funding for the actual updates to the plant itself. Then for the county, again, I've had the opportunity to work with the stakeholders there quite a bit, and we've identified some of the key projects for them. One of the key projects that they're very interested in and that we're still in good shape on is the new Trails Center in the county.
There's a lot of talk. It seems like everybody wants to cut the sales tax percentage in Florida statewide. True?
I think that there's a lot of folks, myself included, who support tax cuts wherever we can find them. It's my belief that dollars are always best spent in the pockets of the individuals who earn them, which is everybody listening to this show, and certainly not the government here in Tallahassee. So we're looking at those sales tax proposals. The House has proposed an across-the-board sales tax reduction from 6% to 5.25%. The Senate has proposed about $3 billion in sales tax cuts, some permanent, some temporary, only for the next year or a couple years. So that's one of those issues that's still a large topic of conversation between the houses. But I think you'd be hard to find folks who don't support returning dollars to taxpayer pockets.
It's kind of interesting, though, because there are a few things that the residents are not very good at doing with money that's in their own pocket, like making sure that roads are paved and that wastewater treatment plants work. Normally we aren't too excited about contributing to that. So it's always an interesting balance, with when it comes to governing and how to do the things that only government can do and do those really well, but try to put back into the people's hands the things that really they should be doing well.
Is that Representative Greco? Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, of course that's true, and certainly nobody is proposing eliminating government altogether. But sales tax is just one source of revenue that we have here in Florida. And this is, of course, talking about the individual sales tax. And we want to make sure that we're not taking in more money than we need, and that we can do everything that government needs to do, roads and safety and utilities and all the aspects that government needs to do, and really is to your point, a unique player in those spaces, without taking in surplus money out of Floridians' pockets that we don't need. But certainly we're keenly focused on making sure that we continue to take in funds to meet those needs and meet them well. And neither the proposals, neither the House nor the Senate, are jeopardizing the mission there.
Okay. Teresa Pontieri, any comments so far?
I just, as we look at ways to reduce revenues, I think it's obvious I'm a fan of smaller government. But, we need to make sure that we're funding public safety. That's a big one. And so there's been talks about whether or not some of the revenue cutting from Tallahassee will have a negative effect on our ability to fund public safety. So from a local governance standpoint, we're very concerned about that. So just want to make sure that the bigger picture is looked at and that we're, adjusting those levers evenly. I'm a big fan of consumption, more fees and taxes on consumption, because then you put the power back in the consumer's hands rather than your high property taxes, which is just, tax for owning your own property, which should be a right of every individual. So I get the challenges, and the balance definitely needs to be there.
So is it the thinking that, okay, if the state cuts it back, that allows the local counties, municipalities, whatever, to increase and fill the gap so that they can have their half-cent increases and maybe sell it where, hey, you're still down half a cent even though we're increasing at a half a cent or a penny or something?
So that's the challenge, right? I mean, we're battling this right now with regards to impact fees. The state has put limits on what we can charge for impact fees. So we're always finding ourselves behind from the standpoint of the infrastructure needs that more development causes to us. So when the state says, hey, we're going to reduce all these taxes at the state level, from an optics perspective, it seems great, but then it puts the pressure on the cities and the counties to make that up somehow. And then we have to be the bad guys sometimes. So it is a balancing act. And I know our representatives understand that because a lot of them came from local government and a lot of them go back to local government. So it's just really a matter of balancing that. And it does put some pressure on us to maybe cut a little bit more and find more efficiencies within our local governments, which is what I think they're also trying to do up there as well. So like I said, it's just really working together and making sure we all understand the big picture.
All right. Give us some other some things going on in Tallahassee we don't know about, Sam Greco.
Well, given that we are headed into the final week of the session here, we're, pending any extensions or special sessions thereafter, we're still working hard on legislative priorities for the state. A couple weeks ago, I had the opportunity to pass a bill that moved the ball forward on life issues in Florida. I'm very, very proud of that. And I've got a number of other bills that I'm expecting to see on the floor this coming week regarding public safety, criminal justice, making sure that we are giving our police and prosecutors the tools that they need to adequately respond to some of the new challenges that are facing us in Florida. I've got a consumer protection bill in the healthcare space that'll be on the floor. We're hoping early next week, and some bills that look to strengthen Florida's cybersecurity posture and resiliency to external threats. So that's some of the things that I certainly have my eye on and would like to see get done here in the last home stretch. But we are working at full pace. This is high season for the Florida legislature.
On the bigger picture, the talk about this new spinal road from Jacksonville to Orlando going down the middle of the state for a lot of reasons. Talk about safety, security, and evacuation routes. And because right now we really only have 95 and 75. Does the state, does the House and the Senate, are they, is that concept pretty much agreed upon that's something we should do?
Well, I think as the population across the state, and particularly in Northeast Florida, continues to grow and expand and indeed expand westward, that those types of additional infrastructure will be necessary. And there's certainly every intention to make sure that we're delivering the resources in Tallahassee back around the state to support populations that and not overtax existing infrastructure.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it would also kind of spread out and diversify the population base from just along the coastal areas, which would be good. And then it also plays into what we're talking about here in Palm Coast and Flagler County going west, because that road would really just fit perfectly with if all these things can happen, like the Magellan Project and all that. Is there anything that you can do to help with the Magellan Project?
I don't know that there's anything specific. At the moment, I've kept up on the local news regarding that project, and I understand, some of the concerns locally, but certainly, wanting to make sure that we're delivering adequate resources back to the district to continue to allow for that type of a growth. Should it be in the best interest of the district?
Okay. So ideally, with the session, would you come to agreement on the budget? Give us a little civics lesson here. So how does that work? The House and the Senate have to agree upon a budget number, correct?
So that's correct, and then we agree on allocations, which are specific sums of money that fund different buckets of the budget. So the healthcare space, the transportation and economic development area, higher education, whatever it is. And once we get into the buckets, then we look at, the variety of funding that falls within them. Some of that is recurring funding, and that's the things that operate the government year after year. So, the dollars that go to FDOT, and some of those are specific targeted projects. You mentioned Project Magellan. So, an example of kind of a specific funding project, one of those non-recurring member-led appropriations projects would be the Loop Road as part of the project in the westward expansion. So there's a variety of types of funding projects that fall into each bucket, but the first part of that, to your question, is agreeing on a top line number and then agreeing on allocations by area.
All right, very good.
But I don't mean geographic area, I mean subject matter area.
Okay, all right. Hey, we appreciate you being part of Free for All Friday every other week with the updates, and anything we can do for you, let us know.
I appreciate it. Thanks. It was great to join you all. I hope everybody has a great weekend.
All right. Be safe.
Thank you.
You too. Take care.
All right. Well, that's good. I think he was a good choice to take Paul Renner's seat, and he's a very communicative, sharp, smart guy, and if looking out for us. What more could you ask for, right?
Yeah, when we were in Tallahassee, he seemed to really understand and get it, as far as our water needs, and he seemed very motivated and sympathetic to those needs and what it's costing the community if we can't get it from Tallahassee, which is always encouraging.
Mm-hmm. All right. Hey, we're going to take a break, and we will be back. What's the name of this song, Brian?
Day Trip.
All right, you win. We'll take a break. We'll be right back with Teresa Pontieri, Brian McMillan, you, and we'll check our phone line here, waiting to hear from one of our city manager candidates, Rich Hough. We'll be right back.
If you don't know who we are,
now you do.
We're the owners of your local Benjamin Moore paint store.
Next time you're thinking about painting, think about us. Benjamin Moore, corner of Old Kings and Utility Drive,
Palm Coast. Hi, I'm Eddie Lang with Serenity Realty. We're teaming up with Ascent Homes to bring you brand new custom models, including the stunning multi-generational home, perfect for the whole family. Whether you're looking for luxury, flexibility, or a home built just for you, we can make your dream home a reality. Serenity Realty and Ascent Homes. Call me 386-221-2255.
Looking for music? DJs every Friday and Saturday at 9:30 p.m. and karaoke Wednesdays and Sundays at 6.
We're waiting for you.
Craig Flagler Palms Funeral Home and Flagler Memorial Gardens creates unique personalized funeral or cremation memorials, has flexible chapel space for small to large capacity needs, a veteran cemetery section, as well as sections for a variety of faiths. Online at dignitymemorial.com.
Celebrate the grand reopening of the newly renovated Palm Coast Amphitheater with special guest Michael Ray and many more of Nashville's top hit songwriters:
Josh Phillips,
Brock Berryhill,
Wynn Varble,
Karen Staley, Matt Alderman,
and local favorite Ashley Estevez.
Wednesday night, April 30th, kick off the Palm Coast Songwriters Festival at the Daytona State College campus. Details and tickets online now at palmcoastsongwritersfestival.com. Teresa Pontieri.
Good morning.
Have you seen the what they've done to the Palm Coast Amphitheater, the renovations?
No, not up close. I haven't, no.
Oh, it's great. I mean, it's not open to the public yet. What it will be for the Songwriter Festival.
Yeah, and I haven't gotten like a sneak peek tour or anything like that.
I mean, they've really it's really a first-class outdoor venue, and Palm Coast Songwriter Festival starts Wednesday.
Yeah, it's coming up. I'm excited. I have every year something else has come up that's preventing me from going. And this year I finally get to go. So
Yay!
I'm super excited.
All right. Well, we'll see you there. Also, it's a good fundraiser for a lot of different charities benefit from that. The college, Flagler Education Foundation, and whatever. Well, here's a guy that I was watching on TV on our WNZF YouTube channel. Name is Rich Hough. Good morning, Rich.
Morning. How are you doing?
Doing good. In the studio, we have our Vice Mayor, Teresa Pontieri, and Brian McMillan, our editor of the local newspaper. And, appreciate you checking in with us here. For people that don't know, that you are one of the final candidates for the position of city manager for Palm Coast. So congratulations on getting that far.
Well, thank you, and it'd be a great pleasure to work here.
So what is it? You're in, Wisconsin? That's where you live right now, Wisconsin?
Yeah, currently. It's after I worked for the service for about 30 years, I took a job in Wisconsin in local government, something I long held a passion for, and so it's become my second career.
All right. Well, thank you for your service in the Army, right? And you were in the Army, right?
That's correct.
Okay. So, so I heard you on your interviews. You were kind of going around. You were looking at different places. And what is it about the city of Palm Coast where you go, yeah, I think I'll go take a shot at that one?
Yeah, well, you got a lot of growth opportunities and a lot of opportunity for a city manager to make a real difference in a community. Yes, you have some challenges that are ongoing, and any community has those. And frankly, you wouldn't be much of a leader if you didn't embrace the good with the bad and try to overcome the current situation that's unfolding here. But no leader should shy away from those things. However, there's a lot of positives for me and my family. My wife's originally from the South, and in our 50s now, she's like, yeah, it's time to get closer to our roots and come down here. And so that's part of it. Looking at Palm Coast specifically, it's the right size community that not only do I want to live in, but I want to be a part of. I spent a lot of my life growing up around the oceans, mind you, the Pacific Ocean, but some of the Atlantic when I was stationed in South Carolina once. But so an ocean, location is ideal for my type of lifestyle and what I'm accustomed to. So Palm Coast, we drove around a lot since we've been here. It's a beautiful community, very friendly, very outdoorsy. So you got all those positives going for you.
There's so many different styles of management, and there's administrative, technical managers, and there's manager that they manage from in their office. I've said that before. That was why I was, all for LaShaka Moore being the new superintendent and not so much Middlestat, because she was a technical, behind the door, brilliant, very good administrator at it, but didn't really have the personality to get out and mingle with the students and the parents and the media and all that kind of thing to it. And I think it's a huge difference that happened in our school system. And you did comment on how important the schools are here in Flagler County. So how would you describe your style of management? Somewhere between left brain and right brain, where do you polarize that?
I'm very much an analyst by nature, but you can't really formulate the best ideas if you're sitting in your office. I have had for several years a sit-stand desk so that I remain on my feet, not only for personal health reasons and what have you. It's so I'm mobile. Get out of that office. I actually encourage staff to take lunch breaks in the lunch room instead of at their desks and other things, so that they get out and mingle and maybe cross-pollinate some ideas that are going through their heads. I'm very active in engaging as deep into the organizational structure as I can in order to gather ideas. I do that through either management by walking around and or deliberate efforts where I'm forming planning teams or working groups to bring ideas not only from the bottom up, but bring them from other stakeholders that might be engaged. And that includes kind of what you're getting at there, is being out there in the community, whereby I'm pulling diverse opinions from various aspects of your community, the schools, the retirement homes, the people interested in tourism and industry and development. Let's fuse all those ideas, and then I can be a conduit for communication, not just to the staff, but to the elected officials. And I just want to say real quickly before I forget that I appreciated meeting Teresa and the board yesterday, and everybody was welcoming, and the staff was wonderful, and it'd be great to work here.
Okay. Teresa, comments?
Yeah, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. And it was a pleasure meeting and chatting with your wife. She's actually been a mayor in 2 other cities. So I think she did 2 4-year terms. So it's good to also have that kind of background and knowledge of what it's like to be in the political.
So would Rich be offended if we hired your wife instead of you?
If you're really going after, left brain, social butterfly,
yes, she seemed like that.
She's my get me out of my shell, pushes me beyond my limits. Something that didn't come up yesterday, and it's not on my resume, it's a little known fact, but I ran for office once for Congress. I never expected to win, but I was very motivated by several issues: education, the war in Iraq, and some environmental things. And my wife was quite shocked that I started talking as much as I did, and ever since she's told me, well, you've never shut up since. You're stealing my air and my thunder. So, yeah.
Teresa, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's okay. No, it was just a pleasure to see everybody. Both the candidates made themselves accessible to staff and to the public, which is always a good thing. Whoever comes in here and takes over that role, it's so important that they are being open and transparent and communicative with our residents. So I think that just having that meet and greet last night was a true testament to what we find important here in the city, and I'm glad that he was able to join us and be a big important part of that.
Okay. Isn't there next week the public meets, or no? Is there something else?
No, so
okay.
We did the public interview yesterday at 1, and then next Tuesday we as City Council set a special meeting and we'll deliberate about the city managers.
Brian.
When is the actual appointment?
I don't know yet. It will depend on the conversation on Tuesday.
My question, Mr. Hough, is good to meet you over the airwaves here. But I think the style and the role of the city manager has been interesting to watch kind of unfold in Palm Coast history somewhat. But it kind of leads me to the question that where do you see the city manager's role ideally in interacting with the city council with regard to vision for the city? I know the city council sets policy, city manager carries it out, but we've seen a big variety over the last several years of how much the city manager, is sort of willing to or feels it's appropriate to advocate for certain aspects of the policy, like, how aggressive a city manager could be in saying, like, well, city council, it's your choice. Here's what I think you should do. Some people would think that that's kind of like maybe overstepping, and some city council may think that would be good and welcome to kind of really understand all the implications. A city manager might be sitting there silently thinking, if they don't vote this way, then we're in big trouble, but not want to say it because they don't feel like it's their role. So anyway, that's kind of what I'm wondering. How do you fit on that spectrum?
No, I think one of the things that my senior leadership in my career always appreciated about me was my candor and frankness, but it came from a analytical perspective, a strategic planning, role, and so I do view the job as advisory, and that's working with each of the 5 council members and being an additional set of ears and eyes as to what's going on in the community, what's the community's voice. We have various media platforms here in Palm Coast to gather data from the public and kind of look for trends, and I'm going to keep them informed of those trends. Now, 30 years in the service working to the interests of the Army, you learn to click your heels and march forward once you've gotten your orders and your guidance. But helping the council formulate that guidance, make the best decision possible with the information that's been gathered, that's my role. And then once that decision is made, orienting the staff towards those goals and those aims through the various milestones and trials that might come through the implementation, but also establishing processes that keep me informed as we go through whatever we're guiding towards. It's another stormwater management plan or whatever that's going to be in the future. How are we implementing that? How are we getting that built? Are we staying on time? And feeding that information back to the council so they know that the decisions they made in the past are being reinforced by staff actions and positive for the community as a whole.
All right, very good. Well, appreciate your time this morning. Any final questions for Rich before we let him go back to Wisconsin?
No, just thank you again and wish you safe travels, and looking forward to the next week as we truly get into the deliberations.
Yeah, Brian.
Yeah, thanks for coming in and taking an interest in our community. We're happy that there are choices. I think that's good for the community, and so good luck to you and your family.
All right. Yeah.
Nice.
Nice
talking to you.
Final comments to the people of Palm Coast. Rich Hough, go ahead.
Sure. I look forward to the decision, whatever decision the council makes. I'm sure it'll be right for the community. I wish the community all the best with whoever's selected, and stay true to yourselves here, and keep your culture what it is that's drawing people to this area. And I wish you all luck. Thank you.
All right. Very good. Thanks a lot, Rich. Appreciate your time this morning. The other guy, Paul Trombino, right?
Yes.
Trombino.
Yeah, I texted him. I left a voicemail, left everything, inviting him on. I didn't hear anything back, so I'm just telling you. Otherwise, we would have given him equal time on it. But
so
that's a no.
Be true to who you are as a community is what Mr. Hough is suggesting, so that people still are attracted to come to the community. Do we want more people to come to the community, Teresa?
I think that as long as you are creating jobs and you're keeping up with the infrastructure, welcoming more people to the community is a good thing. And we've seen a lot of the positivity that has brought. You just have to make sure everything else keeps up at the same time.
Yeah, it's interesting how deciding like what is that attribute, what are we as a community is I think something that some people are still wrestling with. When you see all the chatter on Facebook, but. Go ahead, David.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's, we are, well, the beautiful thing is that the people that move here can define what it is about Palm Coast that they like. So there's so many different diverse things to it. So for us to define what we are and tell people this is what we are, I don't know, that seems like, hey, look, here we are. If you're retired and you like hiking and you like walking the paths, then that's with you. If you don't like doing that and you want to, you're a boater and you like deep sea fishing, or if you like pickleball or whatever. I think our message is that it's such a diverse city of quality of life that pick out what you want to do.
The problem is you have to lean into that though. So if the whole community leans into the fact that we are diverse and that we're welcoming more, younger families and increasing our workforce, and we really lean into that recognition, then we're on the path to success. But we also, as the younger families come in and our workforce, does increase, those folks also have to recognize that we have a large retirement community, and so they have needs as well, and they have to lean in. So I think as long as everybody is, kind of understanding of the whole community that we are trying to satisfy and make happy on a day-to-day basis, then we can all work together and move forward.
So the city is, I think this is about right. It's about 30%, 65 plus. Does that sound correct? I think the state average is 15%, and we're double that at 30%. I think that's right.
Yeah, I think it's 62 plus, yes. Okay, right around there, yep.
So do you want, in 20, 30 years, do you want that number to change, or does that just what we are and it's going to be like that? Because I think the projection is that it basically will stay the same. Mm-hmm. That, in 2050, I think I saw the projection that we're going to get a lot of people coming in, but it's going to be about a third retirees, essentially. Is that a good thing, a bad thing? Is it something we can or should even want to change?
I don't think we need to change it. I think as long as it stays right around there, we need to increase our workforce. So we need to bring in young working families because otherwise, that industry that we're looking for in order to diversify that tax base, it just won't happen because we won't have the necessary workforce. And the entire country is aging. So it's not just Palm Coast and it's not just the state of Florida, it's across the board. And so, we really need to make sure that as we're looking to bring in all these different industries and commercial, that we've got the people to fill those jobs and that we're not a net exporter of workers. And so I don't think it's a good or a bad thing. It's just a recognition of what our community needs.
But don't forget that the retirement is, retirees are an industry. Retirees bring a lot. It's a very stable
bring a lot
income.
of wealth. They bring wealth with them sometimes.
And a lot of them, it used to be, well, you turn 60, 65, and no. Like I've always said, the retirees in Palm Coast visit their parents in Naples. Okay. Because the retirees here, they're active, they work from home, they're consulting. I mean, look at, Coastal Cloud. They came down here to retire, and next thing you know, by accident, they opened a multi-million-dollar company just out of the passion of what they have, which employ a lot of people and things like that. So I think we need to look at the retirement community. I mean, look at all the healthcare and doctors and nurses and healthcare workers that are employed here and everything. So to kind of peg it like, well, we got to get away from this retirement thing, it's a big loser.
Well, I'm not saying we get away from it. That's why I said we don't need to reduce it. We don't need to double it. But I think if the proportion stays about what it is right now, it's completely fine, and we'll have a very successful community. But you're also talking about a different type of workforce. So particularly as we move west, we are going to need a lot of laborers. We're going to need a lot of people who are working in the tourism industries. And that is naturally a younger group of people. And it is the what you consider your middle aged, I think, working families. Listen, my dad is going to be working until he'll be 1 foot in the grave, and we're going to have to pull him out of work. I know that people work into their older ages. So I'm not saying they don't work. I'm just saying that the different type of workforce that we are going to need as we grow is going to require us to look at bringing in those middle-aged working families.
And as the jobs are created, of course, you're not going to put an Amazon distribution center and then, there's nobody applying, there's nobody here. So, but I think we have a great labor force in Jacksonville. A lot of people from Jacksonville, young people out of the military, they're buying houses here in Flagler County. Because they can still commute it's easier to commute from, that's where they're marketing the US 1, that whole strip of all these houses and things. A lot of young families from St. John's and Duval County are coming here. And so I think we have a good, ready labor force if somebody would come here and need, substantial. And they're smart. A lot of military and college educated and highly educated people. So I think it's just, within, I think we have an exciting time here.
We do. I think there's good things ahead. And so for all of the kind of, I guess we'll call it turmoil that we've been undergoing the past several weeks, is unfortunately overshadowing a lot of that. But there's a lot of really good things in the works and a lot of positivity coming.
Was there any discussion of that with the city manager candidates? I mean...
Of course. Yes. It has to be. You got to address the elephant in the room. That's always the responsible thing to do. And so we had some candid conversations about that. I can't speak for my colleagues, but I did, yes.
Okay, let's go back to Norris here. Let's go back to the elephant in the room. And anyway, I don't know if I like that, but okay, the 4-0 to censure. Okay, what's the legal ramifications of censoring somebody? Censoring Mike Norris?
Technically, legally, nothing. It's more of a public, just a public way of saying we don't approve of this type of behavior, and it really needs to be ceased. What's happening as far as treatment of staff, and from my perspective as an attorney, I don't want us to be on the other side of a lawsuit from any of these actions. And so I always say this, I always look at things from the perspective of me being a steward of taxpayer dollars. And as a steward of taxpayer dollars, I obviously want to protect the city from anything negative, including legal action. And so it's important that this type of behavior be publicly stated. We are not going to tolerate this, and we need to improve and make ourselves better.
So the just this is maybe oversimplifying or doesn't need to be said, but censoring different from censuring. So just make sure that's clear to everybody. But what's the difference between censuring Mike Norris and a vote of no confidence in Mike Norris? Because that was a separate.
Yeah, it was all
it's
in
all
one.
wrapped up in one.
It was wrapped up in one motion. I won't speak for Councilman Gambaro and what his intent with, putting that one full motion together was. My concern at this point is getting in there and getting the job done. And that's for all of us. I just want us to forward across the finish line good policy and be able to work as a council. And so we need to show up. We need to do the job. We need to work together. And that doesn't happen if somebody isn't present and isn't going into City Hall and isn't talking to business leaders and trying to attract business and, making the city of Palm Coast attractive, because we all talk about what we want to do, but what are you doing? What are you actually doing to move that ball forward? And so as we work as a council to do that, I think what our message is, get in here and work with us. Let's get the job done.
So it was refreshing when he was AWOL that day, at the meeting, and go, where is he? I don't know. I didn't hear from him. I hope he's okay. Well, I'm out and everything. And then all this. And then you took over as the vice mayor. You took the gavel.
That was a surprise to you at the moment?
Yes, we had no idea that Mayor Norris would not
But
be
it was refreshing. I was like, holy cow. This is like a normal city council meeting. It was like so much nicer without the guy being there, which is a horrible thing to say, but it's the truth. I think I felt that way, and a lot of other people felt that way. So where does he go? Here's Mike Norris, obviously 4-0. And then all this other stuff came back where he, said he didn't do, and it turns out he did. He lied, and like I say, he has no problem in lying, but he believes he's telling the truth. I mean, do we have mental illness on our hands? What is the deal? So where do we go from here if you're Mike Norris? You're at a crossroad. So either you go, all right, I'm doubling down. I'm gonna sue the city and all the council people and anybody I can find. I'm gonna fight back and throw gas on this thing. Or he says, all right, you're right. I'm an idiot. I shouldn't have done all that stuff, and I apologize, and I'll be a good mayor moving forward. Can we all, kiss, make up, and be friends? And can we move forward in a positive way? I don't see much in between on that.
So go ahead, Teresa.
I was just going to say, I always try to find the in between. And so I'm going to go there. I really hope that, we've been a council of 4 for too long. We need to be a council of 5, and we need to be moving good policy forward. I said this from the dais. So I'm not saying anything that everybody hasn't heard. If you have an issue, if there's something that you want to fix in the community, then bring it to the dais and share it with your colleagues. We are all, put there for a reason. Some of us voted, some of us appointed by those who were voted. And so we all are supposed to be representing our community. And so if you've got something that you think is important enough to post about on Facebook and to say during the State of the City, bring it to the dais. Let's put it all out there. That's where all the cards are supposed to go. And let's talk about it and find a real solution, because that is how things get done. They don't get done from your keyboard when you can't vote on policy.
Well, so many good things before us, like that I wanted to talk about today, which I didn't even really get. Like the YMCA.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm thinking like, wow, I saw the architectural things. You can see it on the YouTube channel. So what are you thinking about this YMCA in the town center?
Yeah, I'm so excited about this. The community needs it. We've been asking for it for a really long time. And it will satisfy so many needs in the community, particularly the pool. We've all been talking about the need to either refurbish the Frida Zamba pool or to find an alternative, and this will satisfy that. And the YMCA is just a really good community pillar. They don't turn anybody down for lack of funds. So for children who are underserved in our community, and families, not just children, but families that are underserved right now in our community, this is just a great staple that I think any community should have. I grew up in the YMCA. My dad's been on the board of I think it's called Suncoast. I can't remember, but the Clearwater YMCA. So I just think it's something really positive that we need to focus on. And that's the type of stuff that we should be focusing on.
So, and I know we'll move away from the wanted poster, but it occurred to me that, with the 4-0 vote, in a sense, I think this whole idea of the isolation and kind of like, it's not just maybe some unnamed organizations. He hasn't named unnamed former officials that are kind of sort of in some way going after him. Now we do have a city council that is 4-0 kind of against Mike Norris. Maybe he feels like he's being wanted by the city council for standing up to the swamp of Palm Coast, is what the poster says. But my question is, moving forward, I think the real issue is, what exactly is the problem and what is the solution? He feels that the solution is a moratorium. I know that I know you have some sympathy with maybe identifying what the problem is. Could you share what you feel like the problem is and what the solution is, since you have moved on past, like, it's not a moratorium. So what is the solution to whatever is ailing us? Because I think Mike Norris is getting at something that a lot of people feel in the community.
Sure.
People voted him in. He has tons of support from, at least a loud group of people on Facebook, I know. So what is the problem that he's trying to get at, and what do you feel is the solution if it's not a moratorium?
Sure. So first I have to correct something that you said,
Okay.
because you said, we all voted against Mike Norris. No, we didn't. We voted against behavior. There are violations of the charter that occurred, and that behavior cannot happen from any of us. And so if it were any of us that did, that took those actions, my vote would have been the same exact way. So he's
interpreting that as against the moratorium, which is a totally separate issue. And I think that he's conflating that in this poster.
I have voted for a moratorium twice in my tenure. So that is wholly false. Here's what I see is perception is reality, and there's a perception, and I think rightfully so, and I've spoken out about this pretty ardently as well, that developers and builders have run this community for too long. And I think that is a product of a lot of the building that we have seen in the past probably 6 years or so, particularly since COVID, because we had such an influx of people after COVID. The solution is to look at what the needs are of the community from a housing perspective. Do we need more housing because people are not able to find it? Yes or no? If the answer is no, then we need to slow that down. If the answer is we need more jobs, which we do, our unemployment rate is higher than that of the state, then we need to create more jobs and we need to bring in more industry. But we have to invest in that, and we have been way underinvesting in our economic development for too long. So that is a policy shift that from the dais, we can actually say, from a policy perspective, we are going to invest in economic development, bringing in industry and bringing in commercial, and let's fix it that way.
So here, I have a tough time with that sentence I've heard over and over again. Developers and builders have been running this town for too long. Is that because, they're only building and developing where the government tells them they can do it.
And what people will buy.
You know what?
If people aren't buying the houses.
They're not.
David, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And the previous city council granted a lot of density increases that shouldn't have happened. They granted a lot of zoning variances from commercial and industrial to residential that shouldn't have happened because it was short-sighted. I'll tell you what happened. So when you get all of this new development, you get an influx of tax dollars because they don't have that homestead, right? And so we get this very nice influx of immediate tax dollars, and we say, oh, we have this money that we can now spend, but it's short-sighted because impact fees are shiny pennies, and that initial tax dollar only helps us for a short amount of time. Time after time after time, you have to worry about those infrastructure needs. So when I say that the feeling from the community is that developers and builders run the county, that's because that's what they see. When you go up and down Royal Palms Parkway, you see development. And so that's why I say optics and perception is reality to the community. So even though it's city council that, approved all of these things, it's not city council out there with the shovel that the community sees.
I think we need to investigate that question, the amount of variance. Some of it is shifting. There was talk about, in the whole Belvedere discussion, that the land on US 1 where KB Home is building, that they eliminated industrial in favor of housing. And the staff told me afterward that actually wasn't true, that they actually just shifted it and that we didn't lose industrial. So anyway, I think that is part of the question, is exactly what has the government done to how much exactly have we lost in industrial? Because I think that there is a lot of industrial left, but it's just all in MPD. It's not just industrial zoning. So that's a whole other issue. But as far as like the solution, what would you propose that we do to invest more in economic development? How much money should the city of Palm Coast be spending on economic development? Right now, it's like $400,000 or something like that.
Way more than that.
Is it?
Yeah.
In the department,
we should be.
Okay.
Yeah,
so how much should we be spending? We had an expert come in that spoke to the developer crowd a few months ago. We interviewed him. I interviewed him afterward, and he talked about spending 1 or 2% of the city budget. That is a healthy amount, and that would mean that we'd be spending $4 million. And we're spending $400,000. How much should the city? We're about to go into strategic action mode and new budgets. Would you support spending a lot more on economic development to try to figure out, have a bigger resources?
I absolutely would. I don't know that I would say I'd support $4 million because we have to look at our whole budget. Obviously, we can't look at it in just a silo, but you have to look at the long game and see what that ROI for those tax dollars is going to be. And for me, the ROI in investing in incentives, but also spec sites and spec buildings, because time is money for these companies. When they come, they need to open up pretty immediately because for every day that they're not earning money, they're also losing money. So, if we can create more sites and spec buildings and go to more trade shows and really promote the city of Palm Coast, we need to continue to do that. So I absolutely support putting more money into economic
But we need
development.
something to sell. And that's kind of the problem right now that you're saying we need more inventory to offer these people other than, hey, we're a great place to live. Well, that doesn't cut it. And so with some of that investment, that would be public-private partnerships, right?
It would be, and that gets to, I know where you're going, David, with the charter, the charter limitations. We as council have decided to do a complete charter review. There are a number of issues with this charter. The public isn't happy with it. The business community isn't happy with it. Council staff, none of us are happy with a lot of things in the charter right now. So rather than just pulling out one thing that the charter may need a look at, we are doing a complete charter review to really look at this thing holistically.
All right. Well, good conversation. We could talk all day, but you got to get ready for the birthday party at your house there for the little man, right? And so anyway, final comments from Brian McMillan.
I really appreciate, Teresa. You are very in touch with the public, with the voters. You're always talking to them directly from the seat. It seems like you have a lot of compassion for their views. I think that you really want what's best for Palm Coast, and I appreciate that you're willing to come on to the radio and have a very candid conversation. I think this is exactly what the people expect and deserve from their government leaders. So thank you for being available.
Thank you, Brian. I really appreciate that. And I do want what's in the best interest of the city. I want what's in the best interest of everybody in the city, our business community, our residents, our kids, particularly our kids. They're our future. So I appreciate the opportunity to come on here and have some pretty open conversations about all those things.
All right. Well, thanks to you. Thanks to Sam Greco.
Yeah.
And also Rich Hough. Thank you for spending time with us, getting to know you. Brian, have a good weekend.
You too.
Everybody be safe, be kind. Songwriter Festival starts this Wednesday.